I never imagined that a single cryptic text thread could append the carefully constructed routine of my life. For as long as I can remember, my days had been a series of quiet, predictable moments. Mornings spent with a steaming cup of coffee while reading a few pages of a favorite novel, long hours at a nondescript job in a corporate office, and evenings that slipped by in the gentle solitude of my small apartment. I prized the security of routine. Each day was a well-rehearsed performance, every minute planned to keep chaos at bay. Yet beneath that unassuming exterior, a secret longing had always pulsed, an inner desire for adventure, for moments of indulgence that whispered of a life lived beyond the confines of safety and familiarity. That yearning, I had convinced myself, belonged to other people, until one ordinary Thursday changed everything. It started with a series of unexpected text messages that began to appear on my phone like fragments of a hidden conversation. The first alert was brief and unassuming: escape confirmed. Your weekend begins now. At first, I assumed it was a mistaken notification, a glitch, perhaps, from an app one had downloaded ages ago and long since forgotten. But as I swiped through, I discovered more messages in a thread that bore no sender name, just a string of elegantly worded, encrypted text that hinted at something far beyond my routine existence. One message read, "Prepare for a lavish dinner at El Ambrosia, midnight. Your reservation is set." Another stated, "Private escape secured. Check in at the Elysian Resort, 9:30 p.m. Indulge in secrecy." Each message was succinct, yet the careful choice of words resonated deeply. They evoked images of sumptuous meals, opulent surroundings, and whispered rendezvous cloaked in mystery. I sat frozen at my desk, heart pounding as I reread every line. The thread revealed a series of meticulously planned weekend trips, one after the other, each promising an immersive experience in the hidden luxuries of life. I was being invited, almost seductively, to leave behind the mundane and step into a world of clandestine escapes, where gourmet dinners and chic resort stays were not only possible but promised in exquisite detail. I couldn't help but wonder, who could be behind this thread? An anonymous admirer? A secret collective of thrill-seekers? Or perhaps it was fate itself, finally giving me permission to chase the wild dreams I had long locked away. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. Every fiber of my being rebelled against the possibility of breaking free from my meticulously scheduled life, yet a small, persistent voice within me, one I had long ignored, whispered that I was meant for more. My heart raced as I typed a single word in reply: yes. Almost immediately, the thread erupted with new messages that confirmed everything: an exclusive reservation at the Elysian Resort, detailed instructions for an elegant dinner at El Ambrosia, and even subtle hints that this was only the beginning of a series of secret escapades. That very afternoon, I left work with my mind swirling. I couldn't focus on anything else as I made my way home, the encrypted texts playing over and over in my head. Every detail was tantalizingly precise: check-in times, reservation codes, and the promise of a private rendezvous that seemed tailor-made for me. I spent the rest of the day in a quiet daze, rereading the messages, trying to convince myself that this couldn't be real. But deep down, I felt a stirring of something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years: a fierce desire for the unknown. At home, I stared at my phone, the screen glowing with the promise of luxury and adventure. I had always been cautious, risk-averse, and content with the safety of routine. But now, faced with this secret invitation, I was compelled to embrace the chance to break free. I took a deep breath, letting the thrill of possibility wash over me, and decided that tonight, I would step into a world that promised to change me. I began preparing for my escape with a fervor that startled me. I cleared my schedule for the weekend, cancelled my usual plans, and started to pack a small bag with a few essentials and cherished personal items. I even printed out a copy of the text thread as if to hold on to the memory of that pivotal moment. The moment of decision arrived sooner than I expected. At precisely 7:30 p.m., I locked my apartment door and stepped out into the cool, rain-sprinkled evening. The city, usually a backdrop of routine, seemed suddenly transformed, a labyrinth of glistening streets and neon reflections that hinted at hidden stories. I hailed a rideshare and watched as the sleek, black car pulled up. My phone continued to buzz with encrypted messages, each one affirming my commitment to this escape. I gave the driver the address for the Elysian Resort, located in one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods. As the car navigated the rain-dappled streets, I marveled at how different everything looked in the soft glow of anticipation. The familiar turned into a mosaic of possibility. Arriving at the Elysian Resort was like stepping into another world. The building was a modern architectural marvel with a facade of shimmering glass and polished stone, exuding an understated yet undeniable opulence. A discreet sign above the entrance read the Elysian in graceful script. I stepped out into the cool night air, my heart pounding with both excitement and a trace of fear. A courteous valet greeted me with a knowing smile and quickly took my bag. I was then ushered to the reception desk, where a refined attendant addressed me as Ms. Langley, a detail that both startled and delighted me, as if my secret was already known. He confirmed my reservation for Suite 1207 on the 12th floor and handed me a sleek keycard, his voice calm and reassuring as he said, "Enjoy your exclusive retreat." I took the keycard with trembling hands and made my way to the private elevator. The ascent was quiet, almost reverent. Each floor that passed felt like a step away from the life I'd always known and toward a new, unexplored existence. When the elevator doors opened on the 12th floor, I stepped into a corridor lined with plush carpeting and tasteful, modern art. At the far end, Suite 1207 stood as a private sanctuary, a room that promised both luxury and privacy. I swiped the keycard, and the door opened with a soft chime, revealing a space that took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a panoramic view of the glittering city below, a mosaic of lights and dark corners where secrets seemed to lurk. The decor was a delicate blend of modern minimalism and classic luxury, a sumptuous king-size bed draped in crisp white linens, a cozy seating area arranged around a sleek coffee table, and personal touches, a vase of fresh roses, a small stack of cherished art books, that hinted at refined taste and quiet indulgence. I set my bag down and allowed myself a long, deep breath. I was here, in a realm where every detail had been designed to whisk me away from the ordinary and into the extraordinary. Barely had I begun to settle into the opulence of Suite 1207 when my phone buzzed again. Another encrypted message flashed on the screen, "Decadent dinner confirmed at Alambrosia. Meet there at midnight. Your clandestine rendezvous awaits." My pulse quickened at the thought of the dinner, a sumptuous affair at an elite restaurant that promised not only gourmet flavors but an intimate, mysterious encounter with an unknown lover. I retrieved a second envelope from a drawer on the bedside table, its contents revealed in elegant cursive. "Tonight, cast aside the familiar. Savor every flavor, every whispered secret. Embrace the night's hidden promise." Every word resonated deeply with me, igniting a spark of daring I hadn't felt in years. With determination, I quickly refreshed myself in the suite's elegant bathroom, stepping into a warm shower that washed away the lingering traces of my old self, and then changed into another carefully chosen outfit, a sleek, black dress adorned with subtle lace details that exuded both sophistication and a hint of rebellion. I meticulously applied my makeup, ensuring every detail was perfect. In the mirror, I saw a woman transformed, a woman who was ready to step boldly into a night of decadent indulgence and secret romance. At exactly 9:45 p.m., I left Suite 1207 and descended into the bustling lobby. My heart pounded as I hailed another rideshare, this time with the destination set for Alambrosia, a name that evoked images of lavish dinners and hushed, clandestine conversations. The ride was a meditative journey through rain-kissed streets and glowing boulevards. Every passing moment was a step away from my former life and a stride toward a destiny brimming with hidden luxury. When the car pulled up outside Alambrosia, I stepped out into the cool, dewy night. The building was a grand, stately structure with ornate details and softly lit windows that promised an experience beyond the ordinary. I approached the entrance, feeling both nervous and exhilarated, and pushed the door open. Inside, I found myself in a dining room bathed in warm, golden light, a sanctuary where the soft strains of a live piano intertwined with the gentle murmur of refined conversation. I was led to a reserved table in a secluded corner, where every detail, the crisp white linens, the polished silverware, the solitary red rose in a slender vase, whispered of intimacy and clandestine allure. I sat down, heart racing, and soon the first course arrived, a delicate amuse-bouche of truffle-infused mushroom tartlet that seemed almost too exquisite to be real. With each bite, I felt as though I were tasting a secret, a forbidden indulgence meant only for me. Course after course followed, a velvety lobster bisque that warmed my very soul, a main dish of perfectly seared sea bass drizzled with a subtle citrus reduction that sent my senses into a joyful dance, and finally, a dessert of caramel-infused crème brûlée whose crackling top was as seductive as it was sumptuous. Every flavor was a revelation, a carefully orchestrated symphony of taste that dismantled the predictable cadence of my old life and replaced it with an intoxicating mixture of wonder and desire. Between courses, I stole discreet glances around the softly lit dining room, wondering if the forbidden admirer whose presence was promised might reveal himself in the subtle exchange of smiles among the guests. Every so often, a discreet nod or a fleeting glance reminded me that I was not alone in my quest to break free from the ordinary. The atmosphere was charged with a shared, unspoken understanding, a community of souls daring to taste the exquisite and the unknown. As the final notes of the piano faded and I savored the last spoonful of dessert, my phone vibrated once more with an encrypted alert. Your clandestine rendezvous awaits at the posh hotel bar. Proceed immediately. My heart surged at the promise of further secrets, of an encounter that would seal the night's transformation. I gathered my belongings with a mixture of longing and anticipation and left El Ambrosia, stepping back into the cool, dewy night with every memory of sumptuous luxury etched in my mind. I hailed a rideshare to carry me back to Celestial Luxe Resort, a journey that felt like a reflective interlude through rain-dappled streets and softly glowing boulevards, where each shimmering reflection on the wet pavement whispered of hidden possibilities. I arrived at the resort once more and made my way through its grand lobby to the private elevator that would return me to the familiar sanctuary of Suite 1207. As I settled back into the plush solitude of my suite, I couldn't help but replay the night's events in my mind. The cascading memories of decadent dinners, the subtle intimacy of shared glances, and the promise of forbidden encounters had begun to dismantle the life I had always known. I opened my journal and began to write, each word a declaration of the rebirth I was undergoing, a quiet, fierce transformation fueled by the courage to embrace every hidden luxury and every clandestine invitation. In that moment, as I gazed out over the sprawling, glittering city, I realized that the encrypted messages that had once seemed like a stroke of unpredictable fate were now the building blocks of a life rich with possibility. My heart was no longer confined by the safe cadence of routine, it now beat in time with the pulse of secret escapes and the soft, seductive allure of the forbidden. I woke in a near silence, the pre-dawn light barely infiltrating the drawn curtains of my suite, as if the world outside was still holding its breath after the previous night's revelation. Every minute of sleep had been steeped in memories, the cryptic text that first exposed my secret escape, the sensory overload of lavish luxury, and the whispered intimacies shared over clandestine dinner dates with an unknown lover. It was as if the messages had unlocked a door in my soul, revealing a hidden life I'd only dared imagine in my wildest dreams. In that moment of fragile awakening, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. I sat up slowly on the edge of the deep, comfortable duvet, my thoughts swirling around the vivid recollections of last night. The digital text message, the one that had appeared so unexpectedly on my phone, had read simply, "Your escape begins tonight. Luxe resort and clandestine dinner awaits." I remember the shock of those words, the pounding of my heart, and the immediate, irresistible pull to leave behind the mundane. Over the following hours, a series of follow-up messages had unfolded like delicate petals, each one revealing meticulously arranged details, a confirmed reservation at the illustrious Seraphine Resort, the location of a gourmet dinner at Nocturne & Company, and even subtle hints about an unknown man whose presence was promised as part of the night's adventure. I lingered in bed, contemplating the enormity of the choice before me. 4 years, I had wrapped myself in routine, each day predictable, each moment safe. Yet deep inside, a spark of rebellion had always flickered, hidden beneath layers of hesitation and duty. That spark had been ignited by the promise of forbidden indulgence and an escape into a world of secret luxury. The idea that someone, or something, had orchestrated these plans for me was as thrilling as it was terrifying. But even as the voice of caution whispered about risk and vulnerability, a more powerful inner desire urged me to embrace the unknown. I resolved that I would no longer be confined by the safe boundaries of my old life. Rising from the bed, I made my way to the large window overlooking the sprawling city. The morning was still, the cityscape softened by the early light and a gentle drizzle that turned every reflection into a shimmering mosaic. I couldn't help but marvel at how different everything looked now. Every familiar street corner, every glint of neon on wet pavement, held a hint of mystery that had always been hidden from my notice. The transformation within me felt mirrored by the transformation of the city, a quiet promise that the extraordinary could be found in every ordinary detail if only one looked a little closer. I sat down at my writing desk, pulling out my journal, its pages worn but treasured from years of guarded thoughts. My pen began to move, trying desperately to capture the cascade of emotions from the night before. I wrote about the moment the text message had first appeared on my screen, how the simple, elegant declaration had shattered my carefully constructed routine and opened a door to a realm of opulence and hidden desire. I described the rush of adrenaline as I tapped yes in response, knowing that my life was about to be transformed in ways I had never anticipated. That evening, everything had begun with a leap of faith. I remembered the nerve-wracking decision as I left my apartment at precisely 7:30 p.m., the cold air hitting my face with a bracing clarity that cut through the familiar haze of routine. I recalled hailing a rideshare and watching, almost in slow motion, as the city transformed before my eyes. The neighborhoods I'd known for years blurred into a mosaic of upscale districts, streets lined with softly glowing boutique storefronts and the gentle reflection of neon lights in puddles on rain-kissed pavement. Every mile carried me further from the ordinary and closer to a destiny that I had only ever imagined in secret moments. When the car finally pulled up outside Seraphine Resort, a modern palace of glass and polished stone that radiated an understated yet undeniable luxury, I stepped out, feeling my heart hammer against my chest. The building's entrance was framed by soft ambient lighting and the promise of exclusivity. A polite valet took my bag and a refined attendant greeted me warmly, addressing me by name in a tone that was both familiar and intimate, as if my participation in this hidden escape had been anticipated all along. I was handed a sleek keycard and guided to the private elevator, a quiet ascent that seemed to carry me away from the life I had always known. The elevator ride was almost meditative. Each floor marker felt like a silent countdown to my liberation. When the doors opened on the 12th floor, I stepped into a corridor lined with plush carpeting and tastefully curated art. At the end of the hall, Suite 1207 beckoned. I swiped the keycard, and the door swung open with a gentle chime that felt like the opening of a long-forgotten treasure chest. Inside, the suite was a sanctuary of refined luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a panoramic view of the city, a glittering tapestry of lights, each one a promise of undiscovered secrets. The decor was a perfect fusion of modern minimalism and classic elegance. A sumptuous king-size bed lay draped in crisp white linens, a cozy seating area was arranged around a sleek coffee table, and personal touches, a vase of fresh roses, a stack of art books, hinted at a life of quiet indulgence and sophistication. I sank into the plush sofa, the enormity of what I had agreed to slowly sinking in. Here I was, in a world that promised opulence and hidden desires, far removed from the dull cadence of my previous existence. Almost immediately, my phone vibrated with another encrypted message: gourmet dinner confirmed at Nocturne & Company. Meet there at midnight. Your clandestine rendezvous awaits. My pulse quickened. I retrieved a second envelope from a delicate drawer beside the bed and unfolded a handwritten note in elegant script. Tonight, leave the mundane behind. Indulge in the sumptuous flavors of the night, and let your heart be open to forbidden delight. Every word seemed to echo in the quiet of the suite, urging me to embrace the secrets that lay ahead. I quickly refreshed myself in the suite's elegant bathroom. A warm, enveloping shower washed away the residual anxiety, and changed into another carefully chosen outfit, a sleek, black dress with intricate lace detailing that whispered of subtle rebellion and refined sophistication. In the mirror, I watched as my transformation became visible, a reflection of a woman no longer content with the ordinary, but ready to dive headlong into a world of hidden luxury. At 9:45 p.m., I left Suite 1207 and made my way back to the hotel lobby. I hailed a rideshare, my phone still alive with the encrypted messages that had set this extraordinary journey in motion. The car glided silently through rain-kissed streets and upscale districts, each moment reinforcing the incredible departure from my old life. I watched as the familiar turned into a vibrant, shimmering mosaic of possibility. Finally, the car pulled up outside Nocturne & Company, a grand, stately building whose ornate facade and softly lit windows promised an evening of exclusive decadence. I stepped out into the cool night, feeling both the chill of the autumn air and the electric warmth of anticipation pulsing through me. With a steadying breath, I approached the entrance. The door opened with a subtle creak, and I entered a dining room that was bathed in a warm, golden glow. Soft piano notes floated through the air, mingling with the gentle murmur of refined conversation. I was guided to a reserved table in a secluded corner, a space meticulously arranged to evoke both elegance and intimate mystery, complete with a crisp white tablecloth, polished silverware, and a solitary red rose placed in a slender vase. As I took my seat, every sense was heightened. The first course arrived, a delicate amuse-bouche of truffle-infused mushroom tartlet, each bite a revelation of flavor that seemed to spark a cascade of sensory memories. Course after course unfolded like a carefully choreographed ballet, a velvety lobster bisque that wrapped me in its warmth, a main course of perfectly seared sea bass adorned with a subtle citrus reduction that danced upon my palate, and finally, a dessert of caramel-infused crème brûlée whose crackling top promised sweet decadence beyond measure. With every morsel, I felt my old life, full of muted routine, begin to fade, replaced by a vivid tapestry of indulgence and daring. Between courses, I discreetly surveyed the room, absorbing the quiet glances and subtle nods exchanged among fellow diners. It was as if we were all members of a secret society, united by our willingness to break free from the mundane and embrace life's hidden luxuries. Every shared smile, every whispered comment, deepened the clandestine intimacy of the evening, and I realized that I was not alone in my hunger for something extraordinary. As the final notes of the piano dissolved into the soft background hum and I savored the last spoonful of dessert, my phone buzzed with a final encrypted alert. Your clandestine rendezvous awaits at the posh hotel bar. Proceed now. My heart raced with anticipation. I gathered my belongings with a bittersweet mixture of satisfaction and longing. I left Nocturne and company and hailed a rideshare once more, the journey back through rain-slick streets a quiet meditative interlude, a time to replay every sumptuous detail in my mind and savor the realization that I was now part of a hidden world that celebrated the art of living boldly. The car ride back to Celestial Lux was filled with reflective silence. Every glistening puddle, every flash of neon on wet pavement, was a reminder that I was on a path far removed from the ordinary. I arrived at the hotel, where the familiar grandeur of the lobby offered a brief, comforting counterpoint to the night's clandestine splendor. I ascended once more in the private elevator to return to my suite, a sanctuary where I could finally absorb and record every precious memory. Inside Suite 1207, I sank into the plush armchair by the expansive window, gazing out over a city transformed by hidden luxuries and secret possibilities. I opened my journal, and my pen began to move as if guided by the very emotions that had overtaken me during the night. Every word was a testament to my transformation, a declaration that I was no longer confined by the safe, predictable patterns of my past, but had awakened to a world where every clandestine dinner and every whispered secret was a step toward a life of passion, elegance, and unbridled possibility. I wrote of the sensations that had defined the night, the taste of truffle and citrus dancing on my tongue, the sound of a live piano mingling with hushed conversation, the warm intimacy of shared glances among kindred souls. I recalled how every detail, the carefully arranged table, the soft glow of candlelight, the exquisite flavors, had served as a reminder that the extraordinary was within reach if I dared to embrace it. In that quiet solitude, I realized that the journey had only just begun. The encrypted messages that had initially exposed my secret escape were now the keys to a deeper, more vibrant life. They had taught me that the world was far richer than the monotony of routine, a world where each hidden luxury was an invitation to rediscover the self, to explore the uncharted territories of desire, and to write a new narrative that celebrated risk, passion, and authenticity. With every passing moment, I felt that the journey of transformation was steadily rewriting the very essence of who I was. My heart was now attuned to the delicate balance between vulnerability and strength, and I knew that every clandestine encounter would continue to reshape me in ways I had only begun to understand. The taste of gourmet indulgence, the thrill of secret escapes, and the intimate connections forged in the quiet corners of hidden venues were not fleeting moments, they were the foundation of a new, daring life. As I closed my journal that night, my mind replayed the cascade of emotions and vivid memories. I felt an unwavering certainty that the extraordinary was not a distant dream, but a living reality woven into the fabric of my everyday existence. Every secret invitation, every encrypted alert, was a beacon guiding me forward, a gentle reminder that if I continued to embrace the unknown, my life would forever be a tapestry of passion, luxury, and endless possibility. I awoke to a world that had been irrevocably transformed, a realm of hidden luxuries and secret passions that now pulsed beneath every ordinary moment. The muted glow of early morning filtered through the heavy curtains of my suite, casting long, introspective shadows across the room. For the past few days, I had been swept into a secret life I once only dreamed about, a life punctuated by clandestine escapes, sumptuous gourmet dinners, and a mysterious lover whose presence had sparked an inner revolution. Now, as I lay in bed, I could still feel the echo of every whispered promise from that transformative weekend. My mind was awash in the memories of opulent hotel stays, the delicate flavors of an unforgettable dinner, and the fleeting, yet potent, touch of intimacy shared in dimly lit corridors of desire. It was as if every encrypted message, every digital receipt confirming my secret luxury reservations, had been a stepping stone toward rediscovering the parts of myself I had long hidden away. I sat up slowly, letting the quiet of the room envelop me as I reached for my journal. Every morning since that fateful weekend, I had written down my thoughts, trying to capture the essence of a life that now felt both dangerous and exquisitely beautiful. My pen danced across the pages as I recounted the thrill of that first email, the rush I felt when I accepted the invitation with a trembling yes, and the exquisite tension that had carried me through each clandestine escape. I remembered the moment I had stepped out into the cool night after work, the city's familiar streets morphing into a vibrant tapestry of upscale neighborhoods and glistening reflections, each moment charged with the promise of undiscovered passion. I had finally understood that the extraordinary was not something that existed in far-off lands or in the dreams of others. It was a hidden treasure waiting in the mundane corners of everyday life, revealed only to those who dared to seek it. That realization had changed me. No longer content to fade into a life of measured routine, I had thrown myself into a series of secret rendezvous that challenged every long-held belief about safety and conformity. The luxurious escape to Celestial Lux Resort had not merely been an indulgence, it had been a rebirth. The opulent surroundings, the whispered instructions and elegantly encrypted messages, and the quiet intimacy of an elite dinner had all converged into a powerful declaration. I was worthy of passion, of beauty, and of living boldly. I recalled, in vivid detail, the exquisite dinner at La Nuit d'Emeraude. The restaurant had been an ethereal space where time slowed down, where every detail was designed to evoke a sense of lavish intimacy. I remembered the soft candlelight that had bathed the room in a warm glow, the subtle strains of the live piano that had seemed to echo the rhythm of my heart, and the artful presentation of each gourmet dish. The taste of the truffle-infused mushroom tartlet had exploded on my tongue like a secret shared only between me and the universe. Each subsequent course, the velvety lobster bisque, the perfectly seared sea bass with its delicate citrus notes, and the caramel-infused crème brûlée with its seductive crackle, had been a sensory revelation. It wasn't just a meal, it was an affirmation that life, at its most decadent, was meant to be experienced with every sense. And then there was the forbidden element, a secret rendezvous with an unknown lover. Though his face was hidden behind layers of cryptic hints in those early messages, I had sensed his presence in every carefully chosen word. I recalled the subtle moment at the posh hotel bar when our eyes met across the dimly lit room, a silent communication passing between us, as if the chaos of the outside world had melted away to leave only the raw, unfiltered possibility of connection. His name, whispered later as Gabriel, had resonated with a gentle promise, a promise of shared vulnerability, of secrets exchanged in hushed tones, of a tender understanding that defied the cold confines of routine. That night, in the private intimacy of that posh lounge, I had allowed myself to be vulnerable, to speak of dreams, regrets, and desires that I had once buried deep within. Gabriel's soft, sincere voice had spoken to parts of me that I had long neglected. His quiet confidences were not declarations of a grand, sweeping romance, but delicate whispers that revealed the beauty of daring to be oneself. Every touch of his hand, every lingering look, had chipped away at the walls I had built around my heart. And in that moment, I had tasted the possibility of a life reimagined, a life where luxury was not merely an escape but a bridge to something deeper and infinitely more meaningful. In the days that followed, as the echoes of that transformative weekend continued to ripple through my daily routine, I began to see the world through a new lens. The familiar became imbued with hidden wonder. Even the simplest act of walking down the street took on a magical quality, a vibrant tapestry woven from reflections of neon lights in puddles, the soft murmur of conversation in a crowded cafe, and the unspoken dreams behind every casual glance. I felt as if I were rediscovering the beauty of existence, piece by piece, each secret encounter a bold brushstroke on the canvas of my life. Yet, even as the transformation thrilled me, I couldn't shake the lingering questions. Who was Gabriel truly? Was he merely a fleeting spark, or did he embody the promise of a deeper connection, one that could redefine the boundaries of my hidden desires? I found myself both craving his presence and cherishing the mystery that surrounded him. The encrypted messages that had launched me on this journey had been deliberately vague, a tantalizing hint that there was more to be uncovered, more secrets yet to be revealed. I began to wonder if each discreet invitation was not only an escape from the mundane, but a step toward a profound reunion, a merging of souls that had long been isolated by the safety of routine. One crisp afternoon, while I sat in a sunlit corner of a charming, tucked-away cafe, I allowed my thoughts to wander. I reflected on how the secret escapes had awakened me to a life filled with vibrancy and possibility. I recalled the feeling of standing beneath a rain-soaked sky, watching as the city transformed under the soft glow of streetlights, feeling the pulse of hidden dreams in every heartbeat. It was as if I had been given permission to live fully, to cast aside the shackles of predictability, and to embrace the vivid spectrum of emotions that I had once suppressed. I began to document these reflections in my journal, the small revelations, the tender memories of clandestine dinners, and the bittersweet echoes of whispered conversations in dimly lit lounges. I described the sensation of tasting luxury for the first time, the mingling of fear and exhilaration as I allowed myself to be truly seen. I wrote about how each secret escape had gradually peeled away layers of reservation, revealing a self that was capable of raw passion, creative expression, and boundless possibility. With every word, I felt more connected to the woman I was becoming, a woman who dared to dream, who embraced the risk of vulnerability, and who was unafraid to live a life steeped in beauty and mystery. Late one evening, as twilight deepened into indigo and the city settled into a gentle hush, I received another encrypted alert on my phone: your journey continues. Tonight, meet us at the Arcadian Lounge for a final celebration. Let your true self shine. My heart fluttered at the invitation. The Arcadian Lounge was whispered about in elite circles, a secret haven where art, music, and intimate conversation converged to create an atmosphere of transcendent beauty. The message carried an air of finality, as if it were the culminating moment of a carefully orchestrated symphony of hidden escapes. With trembling excitement, I replied, "I'm coming," and felt the steady beat of a heart that was both vulnerable and empowered. I spent the rest of the day preparing with a sense of urgency and purpose. This time, I selected an outfit that radiated both grace and a fierce inner strength, a flowing, deep emerald gown that moved with a quiet elegance, paired with minimalist silver jewelry that sparkled subtly in the light. I spent extra time on my hair and makeup, not to transform myself into someone unrecognizable, but to accentuate the vibrant, authentic self that had been awakened by every secret encounter. In the mirror, I saw the reflection of a woman reborn, a woman who was no longer tethered to a life of safe routine, but who was eager to embrace every hidden luxury and every whisper of forbidden possibility. At 7:45 p.m., I left my suite once again and hailed a rideshare to the Arcadian Lounge. The car's interior was quiet and reflective, the rhythmic pitter-patter of rain on the windshield forming a gentle cadence that seemed to underscore the significance of the moment. As we drove through streets washed in the soft glow of evening, I felt a deep sense of anticipation. Every familiar landmark now shimmered with an otherworldly quality, as if the city itself had been transformed by the magic of secret escapes and hidden dreams. When the car pulled up outside the Arcadian Lounge, a sleek, modern building that exuded understated sophistication, I stepped out into the cool night with a mixture of excitement and calm resolve. The entrance was modest yet inviting, framed by warm, ambient lighting that hinted at the extraordinary within. I pushed open the door and entered a space that was unlike any other I had experienced on this journey. The Arcadian Lounge was a private sanctuary for the senses, a harmonious blend of modern design and artful touches that created an atmosphere both intimate and electric. Inside, the lounge was bathed in soft hues of gold and amber, and the gentle hum of acoustic guitar mingled with the low murmur of thoughtful conversation. Plush seating clusters were arranged around small tables, and tasteful artworks adorned the walls, a gallery of hidden stories waiting to be discovered. I was greeted by a discreet attendant who confirmed my reservation with a subtle nod, and I was guided to a secluded table near a panoramic window that offered a breathtaking view of the city's nocturnal splendor. I settled into my seat and ordered a cocktail, the Arcadian Elixir, as the menu described it, a delicate fusion of tart citrus, exotic spice, and a hint of sweetness that promised to awaken every sense. As I sipped, I felt the soft, rhythmic strains of the guitar envelop me in a gentle lullaby. In that serene space, I reflected on everything that had led me here, the encrypted messages that had shattered my routine, the luxurious escapes that had stirred a long-dormant passion, and the forbidden intimacies that had allowed me to glimpse a life of unbridled possibility. As the evening progressed, I found myself drawn into quiet conversations with fellow guests, each of us a kindred spirit in this clandestine celebration of life's hidden wonders. A soft-spoken photographer named Elena shared tales of capturing fleeting moments of beauty in secret locations. A reflective poet named Marcus spoke of how the risk of vulnerability had unlocked the deepest parts of his soul. Every shared word, every knowing smile, resonated with me deeply, affirming that I was no longer alone in my longing for the extraordinary. And then, as if fate had orchestrated the final movement of a grand symphony, my eyes met those of a man sitting quietly across the room. His presence was both commanding and gentle, a study in contrast, with dark, reflective eyes that held the weight of untold stories and a smile that was both enigmatic and inviting. He rose and approached with deliberate calm. "Good evening," he said softly, his voice low and assured. "I'm Adrian." In that moment, time seemed to slow, and every secret, every hidden escape of the past few days converged in the look of his eyes. There was something profoundly familiar in his gaze, a silent understanding that transcended words, a mutual recognition of the transformative journey we had both undertaken. Our conversation began hesitantly, each word carefully chosen as if we were testing the waters of a long-forgotten ocean of desire. Adrian spoke of his own life, a path once mired in the ordinary until he, too, had received an invitation to step into a world of clandestine luxury and whispered romance. His narrative was not filled with grand declarations but with quiet, sincere reflections, a tapestry of moments that had reshaped him from the inside out. In turn, I shared my story, the gradual awakening from a life of safe routine, the thrilling rush of accepting that first encrypted message, and the profound, intimate encounters that had set my heart alight with possibility. Every word we exchanged was a tentative promise, a soft murmur of shared vulnerability that seemed to dissolve the barriers between us. As the night deepened, our conversation wove a delicate tapestry of revelation and hope. We spoke of the beauty found in risk, the sweetness of forbidden indulgence, and the necessity of embracing life's hidden luxuries, no matter how fleeting. With every shared secret and every lingering glance, I felt that we were both drawing closer to a truth that was both exhilarating and fragile, that the extraordinary was not merely a temporary escape, but a profound, enduring transformation of the self. In those final moments at the Arcadian lounge, as the ambient light softened and the gentle strains of the acoustic guitar became a lullaby, I felt an overwhelming sense of clarity. I realized that this journey, the series of clandestine escapes, the opulent dinners, the whispered encounters, had irrevocably altered who I was. I was no longer a woman confined by the safe boundaries of routine. I had become a seeker of hidden wonders, a believer in the transformative power of risk, and a person unafraid to let her heart be stirred by the forbidden. As I prepared to leave the lounge, Adrian's eyes met mine one last time, and he reached out, his hand resting lightly on mine. "Tonight, we have glimpsed the beauty of the unknown," he whispered. "May this be only the beginning of our journey." His words, soft and sincere, lingered in the space between us, a promise of further encounters, of shared secrets yet to be revealed. I left the Arcadian lounge with a heart both full and tender, a heart that now beat to a rhythm of passion, mystery, and possibility. The rideshare that carried me back to Celestial Lux was quiet and reflective, each raindrop on the window echoing the promise that the extraordinary was never far away. I arrived back at the resort, stepped into my suite, and once again settled into the plush comfort of my favorite armchair by the window. I opened my journal and, with a trembling hand, began to write, determined to capture every nuance of the night, the exquisite tastes, the delicate conversations, the shared vulnerability that had bridged two souls in the dark. Every word was a testament to my transformation, a declaration that I had begun to live a life that celebrated every secret, every whispered invitation, and every decadent escape from the mundane. I wrote of the opulent grandeur of the resort, the sumptuous flavors of each carefully crafted dish, and the tender, almost imperceptible touch of intimacy that had sparked in the depths of my heart. I acknowledged the unknown that still lingered. Gabriel's true self remained a mystery, but I also recognized that sometimes, the beauty of the forbidden lay precisely in its mystery. As dawn brightened, the once muted hues of the city now shimmered with an undeniable promise. I closed my journal with a quiet resolve, to continue embracing every hidden invitation, every encrypted message that arrived on my phone, as a key to a life of limitless possibility. I knew that my journey was far from over. Every secret escape, every clandestine rendezvous, was a stepping stone leading me deeper into the vibrant, uncharted realms of passion and self-discovery. Now, with the echoes of that unforgettable night pulsing through my veins, I step into the new day with an open heart and a spirit emboldened by the promise of the extraordinary. The world around me is no longer merely a series of predictable moments, it is a vast canvas, waiting to be painted with the brilliant colors of hidden luxury, whispered secrets, and the delicate, fierce joy of living without regret. And as I walk into the bright day, I carry with me the unwavering belief that every secret, every forbidden invitation, is a gift, a chance to rewrite the story of who I am, and to finally live a life that is as breathtaking and boundless as the dreams that once seemed so far away.